Welcome to the Nonprofit Exchange Podcast. Stories by leaders for leaders to help you raise the bar on your own excellence, to release the potential inside of you. Now, here's today's podcast. Greetings, everyone. This is Hugh Ballou. I'm back with another episode of the Nonprofit Exchange. This is a series of interviews with people who've done some really interesting things, who've made a difference in people's lives, who've had a vision and stayed with that vision until it came to reality. So it's stories to help us learn, stories to inspire us, and maybe we could support each other in the missions, because right now, the work of nonprofits is so important, and it's more important than ever before in history. And so we're talking today about an international crisis of human trafficking. And my guest today is Gary Miller. And Gary, you're just quite a celebrity. And so I'm so honored to have you on the show today. Tell people a little bit about you and your background, please.
Well, hello, everyone. Well, I'm Gary Miller, and I've been in the music business for, let me think. I'm on the fourth decade now of being in the music business. And I'm from it. Obviously, you can tell by the accent, I'm from England, not from round here, but I live in Malibu now in Los Angeles. I was on tour. I've produced lots of records and written with a lot of people. Been in big production companies in England that have developed, big stars like Rick Astley and Cher's record Believe, and Enrique Iglesias with Metrophonic that I was with, and Stock Aitken and Waterman. So I was with a lot of big production companies in the UK. And then I moved out. Then while I was there, I toured with George Michael and Nick Kershaw and Elton John before I got into production totally. So I did quite a lot of work. I've done lots of live work and big concerts, and lots of smaller ones and clubs and everything. So I'm getting on now. So I've done more or less everything you can think of, really. But I've done world tours with George and Elton John and Nick Kershaw and everybody. And then I came here to America, and I got brought here to head a production company, just doing pop music, a lot of pop music, dance music, and things like that. And so we produce people from in genres from Andre Bocelli to David Bowie. So it's been a very wide range of production and writing. And then it's fun, but then I was still doing it when I was in Malibu, and a friend of mine who worked for Universal in Russia called David Junk, he came to me and he showed me this leaflet of, what had been happening. And now there was 27 million children being trafficked. I mean, this was nearly 11 years ago now, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that this sort of thing went on. So I just wanted to do something, musically, and we talked about doing something. It never really happened, and I picked the ball up later on down the line, and then I just basically had an idea of doing an album of Sting and the Police songs, songs from Sting's solo career and songs from the Police. So I chose the songs, and then decided to make an album and asked all the people that I knew if they would want to get involved to help, to fight against human trafficking. And thankfully, a lot of the first person that came in was Slash, and they all, one by one, everybody came in. And in the beginning, I thought this was just going to be maybe a 3-month project. I was going to make an album and, do it and do my bit and try to feel that I'd done something. But I mean, that was a 3-month project, and that was 11 years ago. So it's one of those things that, once you learn about, and I'd never even heard of a 501c3. I had no idea. I didn't sort of plan to, I want to form a non-profit. It was nothing like that. It was a case of, I just want to make a record. Maybe we can sell this record. Maybe we can get as bigger people on it to create, because I wanted to create the awareness. Because what I noticed when I first learned about it, I started talking about it to people, and there was not one person I came across that had even heard about it. It was a case of, yeah, well, that happens in Cambodia or in the Philippines or in, and I was saying, no, it happens in San Diego. I remember I was at the CEO Space event once, and I remember talking to somebody at the city, and he was saying, well, I'm glad I live in San Diego. And I was saying, well, glad you live in San Diego. The border's just there. That's where it's happening, right on your doorstep. And nobody could even believe it. They never even thought it went on in this country. I mean, even Slash, when I sat down and had breakfast with Slash to explain to him what I'd learned about it all, and what was really happening. And it was actually Slash that said to me, yeah, but that just happened in Cambodia, and we want to, and then other people say, yeah, but we're fed up of helping charities in different countries. We need to look after America. And I'm saying, that's what I'm talking about. It is in America. It's, it's at the Super Bowl. It's everywhere you can possibly think of, And I was amazed. I mean, even that some of the police that was in Malibu, I knew a few of the cops that was here, talked to them about it. And even they had never heard it. They heard about it. I mean, even the police, and I've got a friend that's in the Oxnard police station, is a good friend of mine. And it's only in the last few years that they actually started doing training about human trafficking. And it's been going on. And I think now he's starting with all the Epstein things and stuff that happened in England. We had a famous TV personality that died, and then they found out that he was, that he was a paedophile and he was doing all this stuff that was going on. So it wasn't like a conscious thing where I've got to follow a foundation. It was just a case of making a record. But then when you start to find out about what's going on, and then it was like this process, now you need a board. And I'm thinking, oh no, you need a board of directors, you need this, you need that. And gradually, but like I said, I had no idea, didn't know the only thing I know about is music, basically. And I do, and the thing is, the great thing about using music, for me, in my opinion, was that music, it's a scientific fact that it's the quickest way to touch people's emotions. So I thought that was a good thing, and people really like, they just like all kinds of music. I mean, even if you're a murderer, even Charles Manson was a fan of the Beatles. So I thought I wanted to do something which there was no prejudice against. I didn't want to do it political, or and I believe, I'm a real strong believer in God, and I think God brought me here to even to Malibu to do this thing and go through what I've had to go through. But I didn't want to do it with a cross behind me, or or on a political thing, because I think everybody needs to help. I wanted to do it like a Trojan horse, if you like. If you do, bring people in, and people want to go and see Slash, then they're already supporting human trafficking. If even if they're not, whatever they may be. I think it's a real humanitarian thing. And when you see 5-year-old children, being raped by middle-aged and grown-up men, it's just one of the worst things I can possibly imagine. So it became a real passion for me, and it still is. I mean, it still is.
I see that. There's something that musicians contribute to the world that's so unique, that we're called to do something that touches people inside. And we think differently. So Gary, I was 48 years ago when I went to graduate school and got my advanced degree in conducting. And I had a lab chorus there that, I had to conduct and they had to sing, and my professor corrected me in front of everybody. But half of the group were computer programmers. And I said, wait a minute, does this make sense? And one of them said, sure it does. I said, well, tell me. They said, well, we have a serious, unforgiving, rigid structure with programming and music. You can't play out of the chord sequence. You can't play a solo and it's not your turn. Even in rock or jazz, it seems like it's all improvised, but there is a set of rules. And within that set of rules, you got to be creative.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's so true. It is,
So
yeah.
we bring a different skill set in I'm a strategy guy. I teach people to build a system so we know where we're going. And I showed you a picture of me in front of an orchestra. We've got the score, and so everybody knows what they're supposed to do. So there's a pattern to in your kind of music. The joke about there's an old joke that I reframed. What do you call a guy that hangs around musicians? Well, sometimes people say drummer, but
I was just going to say,
sometimes they say conductor. And so what my job was to show up and make things happen. You're a producer, you make things happen. Now, you said you toured with Elton John. Were you on
so
stage?
yeah, I was with Nick Kershaw, who's a big famous artist in the UK, and then I did the Faith tour with George Michael and I was a performer. I was on stage. Yeah,
What is your instrument?
and my first instrument's guitar, but I play piano as well, obviously, because I do a lot of programming on the keyboard.
And you do a lot of composing, so there's a
Yeah, I
creative.
do all. I mean, obviously nowadays, I mean, you've got every. I mean, with I've got a computer here, and it's full of every plugin and instrument you can possibly think of. So if I want bagpipes, I can just go to it, and I've got bagpipes. So it's really fantastic what you can do on your own now.
Yeah, it's my
It's
Scottish.
sad for a lot of players. I mean, because the thing is, like drummers suffered quite a lot because of drum machines and samples, and they're not even orchestras. They suffered because I mean, you can buy the orchestration samples that I've got are phenomenal. Now.
It
So
is. And so you're this very engaged person, big time music performing. So you've pivoted to put your attention on this very, very important topic of trafficking, which is a crisis. So it got your attention. Was there ever a point when you thought this is such a huge problem? What difference can one person make? And
you know,
if you did, how did you get past that?
it's funny you should say that, but yeah, because obviously me being very very green in the non-profit world and not really understanding things, it was just so there was a lot of there's been a lot of headaches and a lot of things like that, and then there has been many times I thought, well, what am I doing here? I'm kidding myself here. But as I look back now, from I mean, even still, the album's finished with all these stars, but because we've had to fund a lot of things ourselves, it comes because, and the reason for that is that I wanted to release the album independently because then you've got more money for the cause. You do it through the corporates, and then obviously they want to take their share. But the thing is, looking back on 11, nearly 11 years of it, you realize when I first started this, nobody knew. I never met one person, and I went to a lot of functions that heard about this. And I did think, well, what can I do on my own? But when I look back now over the last 11 years of all the worldwide press, and I've had 2 hit singles from this album that we've just created on our own. It takes a lot longer, but we've created lots and lots of awareness, for this, for what's happening now. And I think our organization, for everybody's talking about it now, and I actually feel that we had a lot to do with creating a lot of awareness for this problem, because not, like I say, not one person knew, and it's quite encouraging. And then I thought to myself, well, I started on my own doing this and doing the music, and I just gradually did it bit by bit, one bit bit at a time, and you're realizing that one person can make a massive impact. I'll always encourage anybody, if you think nothing's ever too big. I think if you really got a passion for something and you really believe in it, and I can be very obsessive with music, and once I've started something, I find it very difficult. I have to see it all through. There's been many times when I've wanted to give up on this. So many times there's been some very difficult times, but I never have. I felt like it, but I never have, and I never will, because it's been me feeling sorry for myself. But when I think back to these little 5-year-olds, I've been to an orphanage in Mexico, and all these little kids have got a hit out on them, in non-disclosed areas. So me getting fed up at a certain situation is nothing to what these children have to go through, you know.
That's quite
So,
remarkable. That's quite remarkable.
it's very simplistic for me, you know. It's like it was no big. Oh, I've got to form a foundation. I've got to do this. It was very simple. I've just got to make a record, and that's where I started. And the first person to come on board was Slash. He recommended Fergie. Then these came on. Then Hart, and everybody. Now I've ended up with a 16-track album of some great celebrities, and so we've achieved a lot. And I want to carry. I mean, the thing is now through music, and I think I want to make records. Like I've just finished a record for mental health, which Mary Wilson from the Supremes was part of that, and unfortunately she just passed away. But she was a big part of that, and that's starting to go now. And homelessness and the veterans. I mean, I think, you know, music plays a big part in most people's lives, you know. And I think, you know, there's a lot of money with celebrity, with merchandising, with concerts when we can open back up again, with events. So, you know, music can be a big source to help, you know, the sales of music, and it can be a big help to, you know, to help some of these foundations. And my idea is to sell the record, and then the money that's all the proceeds go back to this cause, but to actually be able to write checks for people to go and do rescue missions, you know. And that's what I would like to do. I mean, there's like, you know, there's a few organizations out there that go and rescue these kids, you know, and they've got the boots on the ground. I'd really like to be able to do, you know, from when the concerts open back up again. You know, I'm actually, we're doing this new thing in Las Vegas Music Awards, which I'm the music supervisor, and I want to do that charity. So that we're going to hold the charities behind that as well, because in Vegas they have this problem. So there's quite a lot of things that I think once it opens back up again, and I can start going out there, and I want to start. I'm ready to start the Spanish album. I want to do the Spanish album as well, with all. So I've actually done one track at the moment. So I'm on the Latino album at the moment.
Because a large portion of the world speaks Spanish.
Well, that's it. Well, to be honest with you, and the Latino market is 18% above the Anglo market now. So the idea would be, I want to do the Latin album, and then we can have the Latin artist, the English artist, but then we can also have duets. So you bring in the Latin world and the Anglo world together. You know, that's you know, because it's everybody should chip in, I think, to help on this, what's going on.
When you and I met a number of years ago, I met and we talked about music and whatnot, but we were in, I guess, Vegas, Lake Las Vegas. And I think that's where we met. And
Well, was it? It may be in that CEO space, was it?
it was,
Was it
you were
there?
there. Yeah. And I think it was at Lake Las Vegas, and we had some really good conversations. But I don't know if you ever heard me do a keynote there, but you really model how I define a leader. And to me, is you can get 2.5 million hits when you Google leadership, but it boils down to three things for me. One, leaders get things done. Two, leaders figure out how. And three,
Exactly.
leaders influence others. You just nail that. I mean, you had a vision, you had a passion. You actually had a calling from God to do something. It sounds like.
Well, I think so, definitely. But no, I had not. Like I said, it was I was sat with David Junk. He showed me this leaflet. In fact, in the beginning, I was working through International Justice Mission, IJM, which they do some great, fantastic things. But I didn't want to be tied to just one. I wanted to make sure that we could spread it all out. But no, I just had the idea, and I thought Sting the Police songs would be good, and then I just started doing it, and I got one, and I just basically did it one at a time, and it developed and developed and developed, you know.
So starting from nowhere and getting traction, this out of every 100 people that have an idea, my estimate is 3 people do something, and only a third of those are going to succeed. And so you start with, you got flypaper on your on your feet. So you got to get traction. So the first thing is to be able to articulate your vision and get people to buy in it. So how were you able, and you've mentioned some really important people that I evidently have said, yes, I want to be a part of this. So how
Mm.
did you approach them, and what did you say to yourself
Well,
to, to get that whatever that is that you needed to tell them that they would say yes?
well, I think it started. Fortunately for me, I've been in the music business for a long time and produced people like David Bowie and Lionel Richie and all these people. So I've got the knowledge and I've had the experience about producing big artists and I've toured with the big artists. So that was an advantage. And then I've because I play everything and I'm a musician, I knew that I could mix, arrange, and do all this on my own. All the music anyway, and get it to where I wanted. And that because I know all these artists, they're very busy and they're always getting asked to do charity records. I mean, every day they've got a pile like that on the manager's desk. Can they do this? Can they do that? And it's time consuming. So, but at least what I was able to do was, and the other reason was I chose Sting and the Police because I thought most musicians will have a favorite Sting song on his solo career or a favorite Police song. So I thought, and so the first thing I did was like I approached Slash and said to him, what's your favorite Police song? And he said So Lonely. So I came away once I knew that he liked So Lonely. I came back to my studio the same day from the breakfast, and I started putting the song together. I listened to So Lonely, and we had nobody to sing the song. All I knew is that Slash, who is a wonderful, such a caring guy and such a helpful man, and the nicest man in the music business, really, as far as I'm concerned. And I programmed the song, got it the way that I thought it should be, worked really hard so that when he got it back, he was gonna like what I'd done. And thankfully he did. So I sent him what I'd done. And he came back to me and said, I really like this, And then it was Slash. He said, Fergie would be good to sing this. So Slash suggested Fergie. So thankfully I had something to play. So we got it to Fergie and she agreed. And it just started snowballing. It's like a snowball effect. But what I was doing all the time, I made it so that they had to do nothing. They had to pick the favorite Sting and the Police song. They would come, walk in the vocal booth and just sing the song. And it was very simple, so that it could be like Ann Wilson did it in about 3 from Heart. She did it in about 3 takes. En Vogue came to my house. They were wonderful singers. They was able to enjoy the experience, right? Because I made sure that everything was ready. Every time we found an act, because once we'd got Slash and Fergie, we had something to say. We'd say, right, we're doing this album. Slash and Fergie are involved. Then other people got involved. Julian Lennon got involved, and all sorts of people got involved with it then. So it was literally a bit by bit exercise. But I knew that they never had much time, so I had to do as much as I could on my own to make sure that they liked the track. I then sent the finished track to them to make sure they were happy with the mix and they were happy with the arrangements and everything like that. And thankfully, everybody was. So I made it easy for them. And I worked really hard. It's the same as anything. You've got to work really hard. So to get it together on the production, I had to work really hard. People told me, you can never touch the Sting or the Police music. You should never be able to do that. It won't work, So then that was another challenge I had. So I had to make sure that because I didn't want to do it like karaoke versions. I wanted to do, new of it. Otherwise, I might as well just gone and got a karaoke album and got them to sing over it. I wanted to do brand new arrangements. So I was making a rod for my own back, but it worked. People liked everything that I did. So it did work really well,
So you put your reputation on the line. You said, I'm doing this thing. So for people out there that are struggling with getting some traction and they have a list of, say they're a list of contacts, but there's this little voice that says, oh, they're too busy, or you shouldn't bother them, or they're too important for this. What advice would you give people to just break through and ask the question?
Yeah. Well, I think you should just ask, because most celebrities And most of these really famous people, and I've met a lot of them, they're really nice, ordinary, they're just down to earth people. I mean, Pierce Brosnan, came out who was a supporter of it all and everything. And his son Dylan came out who was in a band and he played at an event that we did. It's just ask. I mean, the thing is, but I think you have to do as you got to remember if you've got you want celebrities to be involved, you've got to get all the ducks in a row because you've got to remember that they're being asked all the time and things are thrown out. So I just wanted to do it the best I possibly could so that they'd want to be involved with it. And then when I'm not just involved with the cause because it's a good cause, I wanted to make sure that it's a classic sounding record so that every one of these artists that are on this album was proud of their performance and was proud of what they had. It wasn't just it's not just a throwaway album where you just sling it out in 2 weeks. And it's like the album's got to stand alone on itself because that's what, that's my thing really. And well, it does, I think it does.
Let's do a role. I'm going to put you on the spot, okay? Let's do a role play for a minute. So pretend like I'm an important conductor,
Right.
and you're going to do a hybrid thing. I saw something. You said you work with Pavarotti, and some gospel choir was in L.A. and some guitar player, I forgot who it was, and they did this hybrid thing that was quite amazing. Where they had a symphony behind them, and I forgot.
Was it Steve Vai?
Yeah, it may have been, but it was Pavarotti, and it all worked together. And the orchestra came in. I thought, wow. So pretend like you're going to do something like that, and you're going to approach me, and I'm an important conductor somewhere, and you're going to ask me to participate in this. So how would you approach me? I want people to hear you make the ask.
Well, basically, I would ask you because of your talent. It's something that I wouldn't be able to do. So I would pick a song like, for instance, I did Russians with Kedma, the song Russian, which is all totally orchestrated. I played it on keyboard, but if I was coming to you, I'd say I want to do a Russians, and I would ask your opinion and say I want to do it different, and this is what I've got at the moment, and I would basically ask you to do your thing. I'd want to, otherwise, I'd want you to get your talent out rather than me tell you what I basically want. I'd want to see what you would come up with, and it would be just as simple as that, really.
Where's the why? Why should I do that?
Because the records sound so good, because it's a fantastic cause, and I'd be explaining to you about these children, and do you want your help could stop a 5-year-old child being molested, being killed, being everything,
Yeah. I'm gonna do a sponsor moment here real quick. Then I'm gonna come back and ask you about, how this thing works step by step. So we're able to do free projects and offer free services for nonprofit leaders and clergy of English speaking countries. English speaking countries. There's a Southern version and a British version here, an Australian version. So if you want to be on our list and you want to find out what's going on with these great interviews and the magazine and the content we have, send a text. Get your writing pad out and send a text, or get out your texting program on your cell phone. Send a text. It's 5 digits, 64600. 64600. And then in the message, you put 3 letters, LDR. It's real short for leader, LDR. It doesn't matter if it's lowercase or uppercase. 64600, message LDR. You get this. You get a link. You touch on it. This opens on your phone. And it's the virtual card for Center Vision Leadership Foundation. Now, if you look right here, nonprofit exchange videos, look at here, Rock Against Trafficking. And if I click on that link and it opens up a window and it sees a picture of me looking at the app. So you can watch this interview on the app. You can read the magazine. And so we stay in touch with our tribe because we send you a text and say, there's something important happening on Saturday at 2. Remember to be there. And right now, remember to be on Zoom because we're meeting virtually all over the world. And if you wanted an easy card to stay in touch with your donors, to stay in touch with your board, to stay in touch with your volunteers, it's as simple as picking up your phone, sending a text and say, look at this tab on the app. We're going to be there. And so it's a way to contain the messaging in a way that people know what it's about, but it's also a way to stay in touch with your tribe. It's about relationships. And what Gary Miller is talking about today is using the power of relationships. Now, if you spent a career, Gary, in working with these top artists, and I had shared with you before we went live, excuse me, I was in this really good church in Florida, which I thought had the best acoustical room in the country for acoustic music. It was kind of like a Carnegie Hall and a church, and except it was all marble and stone and high ceilings, but it was a marvel acoustical design. So I called up one of your countrymen, Sir David Wilcox. I called up the best conductors in the world. Said, would you come and spend a week, prepare the choir and the orchestra, and do this memorial concert? And we recognized people who had passed on, but it was quite a community event. But I found that every one of them, every single one of them thanked me for the experience and said, invite me back again. And they really valued the experience, not just because it was Florida in January and it was warm, but because
I've just been to Florida in January, actually.
Yeah, I prepared them. Like you said, it was ready. They had a choir. They could do their work. But every one of them served the music. Every one of them, it wasn't about them. It was about the music. And what you just talked about with the celebrities you work with, people that are really good, it's not about them. It's about their art.
It's not
about their contribution.
It's not about them. No, it's just like they've had that success. I mean, I bumped into Lady Gaga in Starbucks, funny enough, in Malibu, and it's like, you know, they've had all these people. She agrees with me. They've had all the number one records. You know, we had all the number ones, and I think music is so powerful that if you can get it right, it's so you can use it for all sorts of different things, you know. And people are really passionate about music, you know, and they will buy music. And what I wanted to do with my non-profit, it was to create a self-sustainable, because we've never been one to go out with cap in hand asking for donations or even doing events, you know. We've basically paid for everything internally, you know, which obviously becomes a bit difficult after a while as well. But it's everybody's got a real passion for it, and if you're a musician, you know, you want to do the best job you possibly can, because as you know, most musicians wear the heart on the sleeves, you know. I was watching a documentary with Hans Zimmer, and he's very confident. He's done wonderful stuff and everything, but even he said he's very confident until he has to play people his stuff. And then it's like you wearing your heart on your sleeve, you know, because you're so involved with this pieces of music. And I think most musicians I don't know any musicians that's not really like that you can't really explain why you do it, you know. But it's really powerful. And the thing is, there's lots of money to be earned, and I'd like to have a self-sustainable company so that you're selling merchandise and it's all going to the cause, you see.
And we teach that in Cinevision. This is a business. It's a tax-exempt business. It's not about profits. It's about proceeds. And exactly. You're creating a legacy, and this legacy is going to go on past our lifetime. So let's talk. Before I got some people that may want to raise their hand and ask some questions, but talk about you're going to raise money. So let's do the mechanics a little bit. There's the album, which could be distributed even now, but you're going to do live events. So talk about generating the income, and then talk about how you're going to repurpose that income. I thought I heard you say you're going to write checks to organizations that are boots on the ground, saving children's lives. So explain that process a little bit.
Well, basically, obviously, doing it the way I've done it as well, I'm not a record company or anything like that, but I still want to do it at the record company level. So it takes a while. So I finished the record. You got all the production to do, which we paid for, but then there's all the promotion that needs to be. You know, I don't want to just put this record out on a normal platform. It's got to be promoted properly. I think it's a lot of good. And my dilemma is you've got to get the money to promote it properly. like most of the artists, like if Guns N' Roses are putting an album out, I want to put this album out in the same promotion as they would do to give it the cause, you know. But but so the main thing is to the first is to put the album out. I've put 2 singles from the album now. One was number 7 and one was number 27 with Journey and Glenn Hughes. And then then there's the concerts. I want to do concerts which can generate lots of revenue that you've got in the merchandise that can record, you know, lots of revenue. And then all the proceeds, you know, there's all, like, I don't go out there and fight this cause. I can't do that. I'm in the studio and I'm not capable of it anyway. But there's organizations out there that I think are really powerful. International Justice Mission, Slavery No More. These are really great organizations. And you know, Unlikely Heroes, and I'd like to be able to once we get out there and the proceeds from once we release the album, I'd like the proceeds to go, and then we can sign checks to Unlikely Heroes or Underground Railroad that do a lot of the stuff. There's lots of people that do that, and I'd like it'd be fantastic to be able to build safe houses, you know, and have music courses. I mean, that's my eventual dream, you know. But I'm sort of, you know, a one-man band here, really, doing that. I have to do everything. If I had to do the stuff, it doesn't get done, you know. I mean, on the creative side, not. So that's the idea, is to get the album's finished, get the album distributed, get all the proceeds from merchandising, from sponsorships, from concerts, from things like that, and all those proceeds go to this cause, to whatever, even if it means buying an organization a computer, just something, just a resource that people can dip into. That's what I would like it to be. We're not there yet by a long chalk, you know. We've got to get the album out first, and it's been a long process, you know.
Well, it has, and you're faithful to stay with it. And those kinds of organizations do have trouble raising enough money, so it's filling the bill. You can find out about this organization. It's Rock Against Trafficking, TRAFFICKING, rockagainsttrafficking.org. And on Rock Against Trafficking, you can see on their website just what it's all about and ways that you can help our mission, our team. Let's talk about your team a little bit. You do have some really good people. Andy Andrus.
Yeah, Andrew's been involved with me right from the beginning here.
And
he's great.
Andy's a fine musician and a dear friend, and really a smart fella. Tim is your operations director. How do you say his name, Janet?
Tim Yannigan. Well, Tim, funny enough, he was on the what they call it? The Sting Rainforest concerts. So Tim Yannigan has done lots for charity and lots of organisations there. Jodie Best is the radio promo. Is the radio who got the 2 songs in the charts. Bob Pritchard he's done lots of different things for charities, and the same with Matthew and Gabby and all these people. So obviously we haven't been able to do a lot because of Michael. You know, you've got Michael Garbutt.
Yes.
So we're getting in fact, we're getting. I didn't even know this. I didn't know there was this much on the website. It's a long time since I've seen it, really.
Yeah, you got Tyler, who's the one that helped.
Got Tyler Prescott with Penny Fly. So we've got like a good team. You know, we've got a really good team behind us now. You know, but creatively, so there's that. But the creative stuff needs to be done first, and then all the team can do. You know, do whatever's being done.
So you're in a place that a lot of us. I'm a founder of Center Vision Leadership Foundation, and you know there is a process where we're doing everything, and then we have a plan. Then we can start divvying it out and empowering other people. It's sort of like creating the music for the orchestra, and everybody knows how to play their part. From my analogy, sorry, Sorrel, I know. Would you be open to entertaining some questions for anybody?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
That wants to ask, and so. Let me permit some people to talk. I know they have some things to say. So Bob Hopkins is from Dallas, Texas, where I think it was about 1 degree in Dallas, Texas last night.
Oh, it's freezing.
Bob is author of this book, Philanthropy Misunderstood, which is a book you ought to have on your coffee table, philanthropymisunderstood.org. And so before Bob gets on, we're going to do a youth in philanthropy conference on March 6th. So I'll be promoting that a little bit at the end, but Bob's been training youth philanthropists for years. Bob, this is probably near and dear to your heart. What do you have to say to our guest today?
Wow. Well, I'm very impressed, Gary. Thank you for doing this topic. This topic.
You're very welcome.
This topic, I guess nobody really wants to talk about. I didn't even
Well,
hear about.
so that's the problem that I came across. I start talking to people. That's what I wanted to mention, and they say, "Oh, don't tell me. I don't want to know." And I said, "Well, that's half the problem. Nobody wants to know." Anyway, sorry to interrupt. Go on.
No, it's an interesting question. I just heard about it about 10 years ago, quite frankly. I didn't even know it existed in Texas, for God's sakes. And I understand that between Houston and Dallas, that it's a very significant problem.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm aware of it now, but people still don't want to talk about it. You mention the word and then they want to move on to something else.
Yeah, no, that's true. I know.
And so it's very difficult. We're doing youth and philanthropy. Do you think this is a topic, truly, as a father or grandfather or whatever you are, do you think this is a topic for youth to know about and talk about and understand about?
Oh, 100%. I think that's one of the places where it should start. If it can be, that it should be in all the schools. There should be without a doubt. I can't even tell you how much it should be. These little kids need to know that. Because they'll get taken off, and some kids go missing in broad daylight during the day. In shopping malls now.
Well, I see all the people that I see, all the adults that you have involved with you. Do you have any significant teenagers who are movers and shakers and who are trying to change the world, and they're trying to get rid of guns, and they're trying to do a whole bunch of things? What's wrong with teenagers? You having a board of directors, youth division of teenagers.
I've never, I'll be honest, I've never thought about that. So I think that's a great idea. That would be, because you do need that youth to, definitely. I think that's a wonderful idea.
Go to high schools and have the high schools get behind this thing, because
well, that's what I've thought about the music, is with it obviously being because I'm involved with pop music, and so I can relate to a lot of them, what they're talking about, the music. So that's another thing that would be good to go around schools, which I would like to. I would do that if I got an opportunity to be able to go around schools to talk to these kids and make it a bit more interesting with music as well. Then it might be, because I can relate to them, because there's a lot of the music. I'm working with a lot of young artists at the moment,
Yeah,
Gary, I think Bob just volunteered to help you form this youth council.
I did.
Yeah, no, I think that would be fantastic, Bob. Yeah,
I did. Hugh, maybe we can figure out how to bring this topic into our youth and philanthropy conference coming up here, especially to the older crowd. Our older crowd is from 12 years old to 18, and they're hunting for something to do, and whether it be food or shelter, or whether it be digging water wells in Ethiopia, which some of them are involved with.
really.
Why not? Yeah, why not do something with human trafficking, since it's their age that people are after.
I think that. Well, it is exactly. So that's why I was saying, that's why the young people should know about it, because it's them who they're after. It really is. So
I'll bring that up to my group, and we'll get in touch with you, Gary. I appreciate.
No, definitely. But anything I can do to help at all, definitely it would be.
So it's under the nonprofit Philanthropy Kids. And if you don't know how to spell philanthropy, it's PHILANTHROPY kids.org/ and that's Youth in Philanthropy Conference. So it's just YIPC in the years 21, YIPC 21. And you can find out about it. Now, if people are listening to this podcast a year or so from now, it will be an ongoing conference. And so you will be able to find Youth in Philanthropy there. So, Bob, you're always so fertile with ideas. So thank you for being here. Mr. Rash in Bedford, Virginia, do you have a question or a comment?
Well, I certainly, I really appreciate, Gary. Thanks very much. Our organization is Legacy International. We work all around the world on 5 continents, especially with youth and young professionals and entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
You brought to, first of all, Bob said one of the things I was going to say is because one of the things we've learned in our work is to include youth at every level on board of advisors and colleagues and planners. So I second his motion or his suggestion to bring young people in an advisory group, something we do all over the world.
I think that's a really,
that's 2 volunteers, Gary, right here.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
fantastic. It's getting better every second.
We have a global network that reaches a lot of the places where this trafficking takes place. In fact, we worked with children of sex workers in India a few years ago. We have something called the Global Youth Village, and we can make this a subject in this year's virtual and on-campus Global Youth Village that we've been actually talking about doing again. You know, in my mind, because I also come from a music family like you does. My mother was a concert pianist, and everyone, to me, everyone is a musician. Everyone's a performer. All you have to do is put a microphone in everybody's bathroom in their shower, and you know that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You know, and years ago, I was a producer, many decades, 5 decades ago, and I know a little about that business. But and all we had to do is look at concerts, and you're talking about sustainability, and of course, events are good springboards for sustainability. But the thing that I see that runs through all of our work, whether we're working with entrepreneurs or peace building or government officials, everything, is that repetition is really important. So what do you have? You have the reprise in music. You have and this concept of ideography runs through everything. Like Muslim terrorists, fake news, repeated enough times, it's propaganda. And so the beauty about music is that we can repeat things over and over again.
Exactly.
And they're memorizing. And so the message has to be the message that, we're going to say, use propaganda for the right reasons. So this whole, the idea of sustainability to me comes through the message being repeated over and over and over again.
Well, exactly. You did right, and it is that that repetition all the time, and just keep plugging away and plugging away. I really do think it makes a lot of difference.
Yeah, I do too, and I think that's why I say that everybody is a performer too, and so we have them performing the right message. So I certainly want to get behind this. We have young people around the world who are between the ages of young girls, actually between 14 and 18, in called a Tech Girls program, which is State Department funded program. And we also have young entrepreneurs all around the world who, some of whom are working with refugees who are really at risk youth, and other youth in internal refugees and external refugees, and they're making apps. And I'd want to think about how we might be able to collaborate on some apps that might.
Oh yeah, I mean, what I'm thinking as well. There must be some of these survivors and things like that, and there's some of the victims of this that are really talented. I mean, it would be great to find some singers and some artists that we could develop in the studio that have gone through all this trauma. I've got a wonderful studio in Malibu here. People can come, and I've had people at my house from Peru, orphanages and things like that. I mean, obviously with the Corona thing being, that's everything's been on hold. So I'm hoping to, obviously, when everything opens up, really be able to really be able to pull all the stops out again. Because it's all gone a bit quiet at the moment. But I need to put some, breathe some stuff into it again. I will
connect you with these people, Gary. Kind of send them back to their listening mode. I'll connect you with them, because what happens many times is we find that people are willing to step up and do something if they just know what it is that they can do. So we've got some other tracks here. So going back to our conversation, you've done everything yourself. Now it's time for you to find things that other people can do and have these various tracks. And what you just discovered, what I just figured out, is there's a worldwide network that we have at our disposal that can help tell the story without
Exactly, yeah.
their passion, and it's not paid advertising. It's people rallying together
And
to
and
help.
you got to remember with this, when I get this album out, there's a lot of big stars on that. So for companies, there's a lot of publicity here. I mean, there's a big celebrity push behind it. And to be honest, at the end of the day, to do this properly, it does need funds to do it. And I mean, I could put this out next week, but it wouldn't be out the way it should be. So we've got to get back up. We've got to open back up again and get the funds now, so that we can put this first album out and we can create this, and once we get the first album out, then it can be a roll, and I think we'll just keep going and going, But it needs finances,
Well,
like everybody else.
It's like we know as musicians, there's a certain amount of prep. What people see on the stage is the top 10% of the iceberg.
Oh yeah, exactly. They don't see what else goes on. If they only could, they'd die. Never mind anything else.
My first book I wrote after 40 years of working in music ministry, and my church in Atlanta had 12,000 members. I had 750 people in music ministry, and a whole bunch of things going on. And I figured out in that job that 10% of my job was music. 90% allowed that to happen. It made music possible. So for any of us leading a charity, our vision, our product, our service is 10%. 90% is all that infrastructure which you're creating. And
yeah.
I commend you. You got the patience and the system to put it together, and you're stepping up and calling on the relationships which you've created over the years, but you're also ensuring that word's going to be good because you're delivering a quality product, and you've got that trusted relationship.
Well, that's you just hit the nail on the head. That's what it is to me. Like, because remember all these artists from Carlos Santana, Fergie, Slash, everybody else, Hearts, En Vogue, none of them charged anything. So now the position I'm in now, they've come and done all this. It's finished. It's now to me to prove myself to get the album out, if you know what I mean. And we did a deal with Sony, but I want all the proceeds to go to help this cause. I mean, I don't want to make no money. We've got to, obviously there's administration things that everybody has to pay, and we've got to pay all the marketing people. But that's all, it's a case of getting the marketing funds to put this album out. I've got big visions of when you go past the whiskey on Sunset Boulevard to see a big Rock Against Trafficking billboard up there, saying the release of this album, so I want to do it that way. I want to do it the proper way, but you can't just go and pay peanuts for a billboard on Sunset Boulevard. So, but I know it will come, and once we open up again, I think it's definitely going to come. I'm very confident of that.
I'm sure you are. That is the sign of a good leader. You see the end result and you imagine it as already having happened, and you move towards that.
That's exactly what I do. It doesn't matter what the obstacles are, and there are obstacles all the time. There's the financial obstacle, but that something will happen, and it will change everything. I don't know what that'll be yet, but I've got faith and hope that will. And I was brought here for a reason to do this, even to Malibu, to live in Malibu. So I know there's an end game. Maybe I think I had to learn a few things before the time's right, but I think now the time's getting very close now that I think we can, with the team behind us, I think we're pretty close now.
I love it. So to me, as I'm listening to this astounding interview and the important work you're doing, you're creating money to fund these charities, but on top of that, you're allowing these great celebrities a chance to step in and make a difference. And the real big thing is you're creating a large awareness for people who don't want to talk about it, don't even know it exists. That's the real big thing. It's the awareness of the problem. And then that will attract, like you just said, it'll attract more supporters.
Yeah, I think you're dead right there, and it's like, and I'll just keep going regardless. You get all the. I've talked to a lot of founders, and they've all had difficulty, but you just got to keep going. That's all.
Just going to do another sponsor moment, then I'm going to throw it to you for a final thought or a challenge or a wish for people who are earlier on or stuck. So our sponsor for this is also Word Sprint. Word Sprint publishes this magazine, and here's our friend from Arizona, Frank Shankowitz, who recently died. You know Frank.
I know. Well, I knew Frank. I was very sad to hear that he passed on.
He was a motorcycle policeman. If you haven't seen Wishman, it's on Netflix. You see Wishman. It is an astounding movie. Our friend
Is it on Netflix now? Because last time I had a conversation with Frank, he was talking to me about that.
It's on there. Greg Reed, our friend from San Diego, produced it for him. And so it's a stunning movie, but Word Sprint. So he's just happens to be on the cover of this magazine. And so he was an ordinary guy that it was touched his heart, and he had a very troubled childhood, but he stepped up and started this nonprofit that made a huge difference. And it's now a legacy. And he's no longer here. Word Sprint helps us mail the magazine, but it goes in people's hands, but they also help charities stay in touch with their tribe. So this is their pattern. 30% is the message, 30% is the person, 30% is a regular rhythm. We need to put things in people's hands on a regular basis, telling them what's happening. Their supporters, they want to know what's going on. So it's this constant touch. Wordsprint.com. Go there. Bill Gilmer and his team will help you. Every single nonprofit he's worked with in 20 years makes more money because the donors know what's going on and they want to support your.
Well, that sounds fantastic. And that's why, like I said, I'll be the first one to hold my hands up when it comes to organizations. You know, non-profits. I had no idea. I've just winged it all along, to be honest. To be completely honest, and I'm still winging it now, but I'm getting somewhere.
But your willpower, and you have a commanding presence, sir. We know you're there. So I'm going to wrap up this wonderful interview. We've taken an hour of your time, but it's been amazing stuff to influence a lot of people. What thought do you want to leave people with?
Well, basically, it's just never ever give up on what. If you have an idea about something and you want to do it, never give up, because you've never. The only time you ever fail is if you get. I mean, you have to fail to be successful. I mean, I'm a real strong. I know it might be a cliche, but I'm a real strong believer in that. So you have to fail, and you got to keep going all the time, whatever, and just keep getting up. It's like riding a bike. It's like riding a little bike when you're little. You got to keep getting back on again.
Keep getting back on. RockAgainstTrafficking.org. You can go there and find out all about this. Gary Miller, you're just a saint today. You're doing some amazing work and helping lots of people. Thank you for being our guest.
You're very kind. Thank you so much.